All right, so if anybody is, we are recording this meeting. If anyone else is recording this meeting, please let us know at this time. Sebastian Guin am here.
Gene Wall is here.
Jim, you want to go?
I'm here.
Yep. Say your name.
Oh, Jim Geisman is here.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? All right, no public comment. Minutes, we have minutes from February.
Yes,
All right,
I move they be approved.
okay. Jim, you want to second that?
Yes, I do.
All right, all in favor?
Yes,
Good. All right, discuss current winter parking regulations and if they should be amended. Right,
Yes, this got brought up in the public comment at the last meeting.
yes,
It was placed on this meeting's agenda.
right. Remind me what was said last time?
There was some concern expressed about some of the streets, I think in the Church Street area.
Right.
Where it's not during the storm itself. The concern was after the storm when there's heavy snowbanks that kind of bleed into the street.
Yeah.
And then having cars on both sides of the road, and then that creates a very narrow travel lane
Yeah.
for people to get by.
it's in one car at a time.
Yeah. So, and then the kind of proposed solution was maybe doing odd and even sides. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And in the past, that was the case, right?
It was the case. And I wasn't working for the city when it happened, but it was pretty purposeful to switch it over. There was a lot of confusion from residents. Especially because at one point it wasn't odd and even. There was also north and south and east and west. So I think switching back would again cause a lot of confusion. I think that the DPW, if there is a road where it gets so narrow that cars are barely able to get by, people should contact the DPW dispatch and they can go out and make it so the road is less narrow.
Okay,
Those are my 2 cents.
so rather than having everybody on all streets have to park only on one side, we can say call the DPW,
Yeah,
have them clear the snow or put up a sign that says no parking.
Do they have enough staff to do that, though?
I think if it was actually like truly like preventing people from getting by in their cars entirely, absolutely, they definitely would have enough staff. I think to make roads less narrow than people would like, that'd be a different story.
But
So with respect to the parking regulations, are there any changes? Are we suggesting any?
The idea that was suggested from the public at the last meeting was to switch it to something where you can only park on one side of the street during the winter, and not even just during a ban, during the entire winter. Whereas the current regulations just make it so that if there's a declared snow emergency that's on the radio, it's on the city's social media, you just can't park on the street at all during that time. And once that's lifted, once the snow is presumably cleared by the DPW, you're allowed to park anywhere just as you would in the summer.
Okay, well, if there's parking on one side, how does that relate to the snow plowing? Because you'll be able to snow plow one side, but that's about it. huh?
no, the streets can be snow plowed if there's a winter emergency.
Yeah.
And nobody can park on the street.
Yeah, this is
So that's not a problem. It's the accumulation of snow.
Okay,
And it's not like, so if we get 1 inch of snow, that's not an emergency.
yeah, unless it's declared, otherwise you're welcome, you can keep parking. It's basically if they're sending the plows out, it's when it's an emergency.
So in case of a snow emergency, there's still no parking, so no change, right?
Right.
And then, what was the other situation where you can park on one side?
So currently, there's nothing in relation to that. It used to be that way. Right now, it's once the ban is over, you can park wherever you'd like, just like normal parking rules.
Okay.
The suggestion from the public was to go back to the old way of only being able to park on one side during the winter, but it's pretty confusing for people, and apparently it hasn't been too necessary because this is the first I've heard of this
Yeah.
since being parking coordinator.
So I guess the question is, what are there criteria for road width? Right,
Well, to me, it's not the road width, it's there's too much snow last winter.
right.
Before that, we didn't have a problem. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
until back in the day when we did.
Yeah.
So maybe we go through another winter, and if it is a problem, then we make a declaration of odd and even.
Should we put something on the snow emergency, winter parking ban, and weather related emergency parking? You know, if your street is too narrow, you call it DPW or something like that.
Yeah, we can make that. I can talk with the DPW director and the mayor's office about that, just make that part of the regular communications, because there already is the regular communication about the parking ban during snow emergencies, and there's like a whole list of things, all the details. If that's the DPW director agrees with it, that could totally be added to the list for sure.
And is there like, let's imagine that there's parking on Hope Street, right? By the courthouse, and there's snow there, and so that means people are parking further out. Is there a point in which you would get a ticket?
I have to double check the code, but I mean, there are rules about how far you can park away from the curb, I believe.
You can't see the curb.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how that would play out.
Yeah.
Well, then I think it might be better to go back to the odd and even.
Yeah, or in that case, you could put bags over the thing, say no parking over on the meter heads, right?
Except meters aren't everywhere. To me, the odd and even worked when we had that.
The north and south was confusing.
Yeah, north and south would confuse me.
It wasn't north and south, it was something else. It could-
I mean, I don't remember, but odd and even I can handle.
Um, But I also feel like that means that the vast majority of time, we're underutilizing our on-street parking,
Right.
right?
It's-
For this
And
fairly rare event.
And so I would just suggest that we put in the regulations to call the DPW if the street's too narrow.
Yeah.
And if it happens again next year, then we go to odd and even.
Yeah, and the DPW will come out and evaluate it
Yeah.
and say, actually, this doesn't seem that narrow.
And it slows down traffic is,
I can also check in with Lindsay, who's the DPW coordinator and runs the dispatch for them, and see how many calls they actually kind of got about this issue this past year and give us some data.
right.
And then same thing for next year. See.
I mean, this was such an odd occurrence. I don't think we should plan around this year. Just say.
So, but the snow emergency is just no parking. But if it turns out the street is narrow, too narrow because of piled up snow, you call the DPW. And that's about it. And then we may do odd even one side parking after this season. Is that
Right, and because the DPW has a couple options, right? A, they can clear it. B, they could put up some signs, some whatever, stanchions or whatever, to say no parking. Right.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I
that
think,
seems pretty.
I think we go with, it's going to continue with climate change and global warming,
It seems like there's gonna be less snow, but you never know.
Right.
So there'll be snow plowing in short sleeve shirts, with the plows up.
And there might be some months that are really, really bad in snow.
So, yeah, I'll check in with the DPW director and the DPW coordinator and see if we can get some stats and get that messaging tweaked to include that if it's acceptable to him.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so next order of business, discuss creation of parking benefit district. That's proposed. Business association.
I do have Amy here.
Okay, hi Amy.
Discuss.
Would you like to, I read about it in the paper and I thought I should throw it on here because.
Sure.
Yeah.
You, like, I'm joining you.
Join us, of course.
We're not formal like,
You never know.
I know that's true.
So I've been involved with Counselor Healy and with Hannah Reckshoffen in the conversation around this, and I'm happy to share whatever, I can give you an overview of where we're at and
That'd be
what
great, yep.
it is. Okay, great. So parking benefit district is a geographically defined area within which the revenue from the parking, if a parking benefit district was created, all or a portion of the revenue from the parking would be captured and then put back into that district towards a potential range of things from parking enforcement to meters and kiosks to improvements to the physical space to things in the public way like streetscape improvements, lighting, flowers, public art, that sort of thing. The revenue that can be captured is meter revenue, kiosk revenue, but not parking tickets and not, I believe,
Permits.
permits. God, that word escapes me. So it's only a portion of the revenue. So Counselor Healy brought this idea to the Economic Development Committee of City Council to talk about. And where we've landed after conversation with him, with Hannah, and with the mayor is that the mayor has okayed a seed fund to start that. I think the current proposal is $50,000, which comes out of parking revenue that is currently set aside, with the idea being that this fund would not take over parking enforcement. It wouldn't take over sort of the big things, but it would be aimed at more streetscapes and streetscape improvements, cleanup, that sort of thing. The way that we are anticipating that this fund would be handled, it can be administered by either a city-related entity or part of the city. So the fund, as currently conceived, would go through my department, Community and Economic Development. In terms of project approval, we would have projects approved jointly by my department, the DPW, and the GBA, Greenfield Business Association, because those three entities are most immediately involved. My department is connected to this committee, is connected to the mayor's office. DPW obviously is going to bear installation and maintenance responsibility for a lot of these things. And GBA deals with the business association, who we are hoping will be enthusiastic about this and that these improvements will support. Our thought is that we would each year create a prioritized list of projects, bring that list of projects to you, share it with you to get your input and your comment, and then as we go through the year, work off of that list of projects, knowing that things could come up. So we're not bound by it, but at least to give us a chance at the start of every year to collect input, both from the public and from stakeholders like this group. What else?
Who sets the priority?
So we would, a group consisting of my department, the DPW, and the Greenfield Business Association would solicit input from stakeholders, from the public, from businesses, and take all of that input and use it to generate a list of priorities. We would bring that list to all of you to go through to let you weigh in and make sure that we don't want to be off doing something over here if you all are trying to do something over here and we're working at cross purposes.
I think that's a fabulous
So
idea.
that's our plan. The only other piece of information, like I'm just going through my draft plan here. We're also not planning on two things, not planning on using this for re-granting. So this isn't a scenario where we would have people come and do a grant application process. It's designed to be a little more nimble than that and more responsive to the needs of the folks in this area. And it's not aimed at events. So it's more physical infrastructure or beautification, but not events that happen within the area. And the geographic area is still a little bit to be determined, but roughly the central commercial district. We may narrow it a little bit more tightly on Main Street and the couple of blocks that are off of that, but that's the area where all of the parking is anyway, that we would be collecting the revenue from.
And who would do the work, like cleaning the streets?
So that's why we have these three groups, because it would fall on, frankly, one of the three of us, my department, the business association, or the DPW, or it could be some collaborative effort. And I think that would just be project by project. So my department has done a lot of public art, as has the GPA, and we would love to do more of that. If a project is something like, I don't know, a special cleaning or something, that would have to be the DPW, which is why we've given them, the right to sign off on all of the projects too, because I don't want to sign them up for something that they just don't have the staff or the resources to do. So project by project.
Well, the biggest complaint I hear about downtown is how dirty it is.
Well, don't get ahead of our first desired projects. I think cleanliness of downtown is
I mean, trash.
absolutely, yeah.
But could we like pay people that are downtown all the time hanging out to pick up the trash? I mean,
I think we could look at ways of doing a project that would improve trash downtown. I think the notion of paying people raises a whole host of legal questions that I am not equipped to answer. And I don't know that a parking benefit district of the sort that we're imagining is appropriate for paying somebody over the long term. But I could see it, for a concentrated period of time or a spring cleanup or something like that. Sure.
well, can the city enforce cleaning up outside your building?
I think the city can already enforce whatever the laws are on the rules on the books and doesn't need the parking benefit district yet. But
I mean, that would be the ideal solution is if people had to clean up outside their buildings.
sure, but it could be that this, parking benefit district could maybe entice that sort of cleanup by saying, we'll pay for flowers or plantings outside of your properties once it's cleaned up, or I don't know, we're gonna get equipment that will help you do a better job cleaning up or something like that.
So currently the money goes into the general fund.
Yeah.
And then the council decides what to do with it. Right, the money,
The
the
mayor.
mayor decides what to do, it. The council approves it. Right, is that how?
I mean,
It actually is, it's not I guess it's the general fund, since the general fund is like everything.
Yeah.
It's set aside though, so they build up, the funds build up until the mayor decides to put a financial order through to do something otherwise with them. I thought the same thing as you. I thought it recirculated back into the budget every year
Yeah.
up until about a month ago is
Oh.
they've been building up, which is created the impetus to start talking
Okay,
about
so
it.
there's not the permits and not the
Tickets.
tickets, but the
Kiosk and meter revenue.
yes, my revenue has been building up into
Yes,
an account, basically.
right.
It's not part of the general fund that the mayor has access and
Yes.
can direct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this would be taking a piece of that and segregating it specifically for however we frame out this parking benefit district.
Okay.
And I think it should be advertised a lot so people know what their money's
Oh,
going
for
for.
sure.
Because they
Absolutely.
hate paying for the parking meter.
Absolutely. And the idea is that this would have a, cumulative benefit over time, that if downtown becomes cleaner and nicer and more attractive, more people will want to park, which will generate more revenue to put back into this district to keep it up.
Yeah, but if everybody abides by the law, there's no revenue.
No, that's not true, because that's a
Say that
different,
again?
different, different
Yeah,
revenue.
you're right.
If everyone abides by the law, there's more revenue.
That's exactly.
If everyone got a ticket, we wouldn't have any revenue.
We'd have different revenue. And so in terms of where we are now, this has gone once to the City Council Economic Development Committee. It's going back there next month. And then once we all get, I think, on the same page of what this plan would look like, then I think Councilor Healy is going to bring it to City Council. So I would imagine it would go there June, July.
And so is there a reason why you're not just thinking central business district?
I think the mayor had been a little bit concerned that Central Business District is a pretty broad district. When compared with the amount of dollars, at least at the outset, that we'll have for the parking benefit district. And so I think was just worried about setting an expectation for too broad a geographic swath, when the reality is that the initial efforts will most likely be concentrated on Main Street and the immediate blocks right off of that.
And that's where the parking is paid for
Yeah.
anyway.
But again, we haven't actually looked at the map and drawn the specifics. That's just been the conversation so far.
Which is the council committee that it's going to be referred to?
It has already been and will remain at the Economic Development Committee,
Got it.
or at least their next meeting. It's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, it seems like the money currently doesn't have a well-defined path,
Yeah.
right? And this provides a mechanism for it to be dispersed. And I think it probably does make sense for it to be dispersed downtown.
Yep.
And the money does not pay for the parking enforcement.
Correct. Correct.
So we will not be deprived of parking enforcement.
No.
Okay.
No, we will not only not be deprived of it, but the method that gets accounted for in the city budget won't change. That felt like taking on a huge set of things that was beyond the scope of really what everybody was looking for here. Really, we were focused on making downtown cleaner and nicer and more welcoming.
And setting up a segregated fund means that the funds available for these projects is not subject to the winds of change in the budget, right?
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. So it's sending a message too that the city is trying to prioritize, not only talking about making downtown clean, but allocating some funds to try and help support that effort.
Sort of like the elderly and disabled fund in terms of being segregated.
Yes, to the extent that I'm not 100% confident how that's segregated, so I don't want to say absolutely the same, but yes, I think so.
Or similar, okay.
Similar, yep.
Okay.
So do we need a motion?
Yeah, we can make a recommendation to the mayor. Do we have anybody want to phrase one? Make a motion on that?
I make a motion that we go with the parking benefit district and have it referred off to the Economic Development Committee and then ultimately to the council.
Is that
Right.
Sounds
Sure.
reasonable?
Second.
Okay,
Any discussion?
we've already had it, haven't we?
This is a discussion on your proposal. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Thank you.
Slide back over here.
All right, any updates on implementing changes to parking policies?
Not so much a policy, but something that you did include in that set of recommendations that you sent over to the mayor a while back was about the parking kiosks, and your
Yeah.
preference for how they should function. And
Yeah,
that you wanted multiple ways of paying through them. So now it's kind of starting to come to fruition. As part of this conversation with the parking benefit district, there's that money that is set aside that's kind of just been building up.
okay, right. It could be used for something.
And
like
it,
that.
and it could be used for something like this. And so during that meeting about the parking benefit district, we had just had a tangential conversation about using some of the funds for upgrading the city's parking kiosks, the approximately 10 kiosks that are in the city's parking lots, not the meters that are on the street parking, the kiosks that you walk over and currently get a ticket and walk back to your car and put it on your dashboard. And the mayor thought would be a good idea to use some of those built up funds to upgrade them and replace them. Replace them is a better word. So it's just an update to all of you that that process is in motion. Already have a kind of a vision for the kind of ones we want, just like something better allows you to pay with card, coin, I guess theoretically your phone, that kind of thing, just flexibility for people.
And then pay by plate.
And then pay by plate was the other thing you suggested. So taking all those things into account, the number I'd given to the mayor, which she was acknowledged at the time, was 80,000. So that's like an average of 8,000 each. They might be more than that, but that's at least the amount that the mayor currently has in mind. It could be more though. So I'm working on researching requests for proposals that other communities have put out, seeing kind of the way it's done and how you need to word it to get the kind of kiosk that you want to get. And then from there, we'll kind of see if we can get a ballpark estimate for what this is going to cost. And then officially put the RFP out there and get these things bought. So it's not an immediate thing, but it's a slow process of getting an RFP out there, but it's in motion.
And these would be passport compatible and also take credit cards.
Correct. In regards to passport, it's maybe not exactly what you're talking about, Jim, but passport is the city's the back end kind of financial forget the right word, is the financial management for the parking. So paying for permits, paying for your parking on an app. I asked them at a meeting I had with them recently if they could be the people that kind of manage the payment system for the kiosks. So like when you're paying on a credit card, it goes through passport system, just like when you're buying a permit, it goes through passport system as opposed to having two separate systems. And they gave me the list of kiosk vendors that they are compatible with. So that would probably be a requirement in the RFP, is to be able to work with passport, because passport's been pretty great to work with recently, honestly.
And they're the ones that also go to the enforcement.
Correct. Yeah. And then the city's parking enforcement officials have the tablets that they carry around to issue tickets. That's passport as well. So getting everything under one umbrella would be fantastic.
Great, I think that makes sense.
Good job.
Thanks. So we're gonna keep working on that, and hopefully I'll have more details and then the meetings over the next few months on that RFP, and as we gain a vision for the exact kind of kiosk we're looking for.
But these kiosks will not take coins, or they will?
They will. That's the preference anyway. And I think most kiosk vendors, even if they don't by default, they can definitely add a way to pay with coin. I think at least that's my desire, and I think the mayor's desire is to always have the ability to pay with coin.
Yeah, I think people appreciate that.
And people with the app just don't need it.
Correct? Yeah. If you want to keep using the app, you keep using the app. You don't have to use the kiosk at
All
all.
you have to do is put in your license plate. No. Yeah.
But you put in your license plate in the kiosk? No.
Yeah. So that's the idea, is you put your license plate. This is actually how it works, I believe, in Northampton and in Amherst. You put your license plate into the kiosk and it sends it off to the system for the parking enforcement people, so that when they're walking around, they see, okay, yep, that's license plates on my system, that one's on my system, as opposed to having to go back to your car every time and put a thing on your dashboard.
But they're already having to do that.
I see what I see. I'm sorry, I was getting that confused with the parking app. If you have the parking app, you don't need the kiosk.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if you don't have the parking app, then you've got three ways to pay:
yes,
card, plate, or coin.
no,
No,
no, you always put your plate in. And then you pay by card or coin, or
Yeah, right.
coin,
but the plate
no
won't
bills,
pay
right?
for it.
Bills being.
Yeah, I think there's some of them, I mean, you can, if you really wanted to, you could put the RFP out there that they have to take paper, but
Yeah, that might be more.
yeah, that would be more, and I don't, no one else around us does paper for their kiosks, so.
So tell me how the plate works.
That's that's what you use to pay for passport is your license plate because they've got your
Right,
credit
yeah.
card.
And so you go to the kiosk, you put your plate in, your plate number in, and then pay
Your
And
card or with coin.
with your card or coin, they give you a little ticket.
Oh,
You
okay.
wouldn't have to go back to your car to put the ticket on the dashboard.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
They're two
Got it.
separate entities.
Yeah.
You can
I-
either do
I-
the kiosk or passport.
I'm saying pay by plate, but I probably should be saying register by plate or
Yeah.
something.
yeah,
Otherwise, besides that, implementing the changes to parking policies, there's a few signs that still need to get swapped. DPW is obviously pretty burdened over the winter when we were trying to make these by the snow we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and how's it going with permit spots and stuff? Have you had any comments about them being removed or?
I've had no comments. Honestly, the lot that I was most concerned about is the Ames Street lot, and that the signage technically hasn't changed over, but for the last 2 years, people have been parking wherever in that lot anyway, and we haven't been enforcing it. So we were just changing the policy to reflect reality anyway. So
Great. Anything else on that?
nothing on that one. The Main Street redesign updates. I always keep this on there, hoping
Yeah.
there'll be something that comes up the day before just in case. But I think it's the same update as either the last meeting or both the last two meetings that the design is submitted to Mass DOT from the city and Fuss and O'Neill. And Mass DOT has not gotten back to the city yet, besides to ask that question about the roundabout, which received a resounding answer already. So since then, there's been no additional feedback. So still waiting. DPA to be still waiting.
Yeah, I wish I had been able to explore the roundabout.
Me too. I think that would have been
I've been interested, I would have been interested to see whether that could have worked, 'cause, yeah. Okay. So I guess that's it. I did send out that link to the part of the update on that I did on the accidents in Greenfield.
Yes.
That was super helpful to look
So I
through.
think that's gonna be a cool way to see what's going on. Especially when we get to the point where we're thinking about crosswalks, or we get reports from people saying that part of the street is dangerous. All right,
So that's all I have.
okay, that's it, huh? Anything for next meeting? Want to make sure we talk about? No,
issues.
okay. Very well,
that's it.
that's it. All right, Jim.
Motion to
Thank you.
adjourn. Well,
We have a second?
Second.
Okay,
Is there any
You think-
public comment first? I mean,
No, there was none.
now,
okay, all right.
once you make that motion, Jim, and you get a second, there's no discussion. There's just either a yes or no.
Non-debatable, I think.
Yeah.
Stephanie is chomping at the bit to say something, I think. Yes, Stephanie? No.
No.
Okay, we'll adjourn. That's the end.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay, see y'all.
See ya.
Thank
Bye.